Frailer Porstorm, and today we're making a farm park in Planet Zoo. This is going to be a UK style farm park, and we're using the temperate biome in Planet Zoo, and we are on franchise mode. I think I left it on easy. So we're starting off with 40,000 and we have 200 zoo credits. This will be a speed build of the first episode, and if you'd like to watch any more, you can find me on Twitch, where I stream them live, or I will add the VODs on my other channel, which is Frailer Porstorm VODs. So to start with, we're making a path, and because I'm planning to do a train all the way around the edge of the map, I'm going to try and do an underground path so that the train can go over the top. However, I haven't built underground paths before, so this could be interesting. So as you can see, I've put in a basic asphalt path for now, and I've kind of done a little underground bridge with some of the path tunneling. It didn't quite work the way I wanted it to, as you can probably tell. I did try and get the path to go a bit wider so that the path was then straight, but that didn't work either. So I brought it out a little bit to try and get it into a straight line. So I was trying to get a straight path by using the grid, but that didn't seem to want to work either. I'm not a pro at Planet Zoo. I am kind of learning as I go, which is why I'm trying to do different builds and learning how to do construction, pathing, and all that fun stuff. So I've only done a few other zoo builds. I did a challenge mode and I also did a timed mode, which I may do some more of because they're quite chaotic. So if you'd like to have a go at Planet Zoo, start with the career mode. That'll help you get started with the controls and all of that basics and tutorials. And then probably try and do a challenge just to stretch yourself, especially if you've already built quite a few zoos. If you haven't built the zoos, then challenge yourself if you'd like it. Having a theme is also good. So I then tried to move this path back up to ground level and it just wasn't having it. I don't think you can see. It ended up being very wobbly, and that kind of wasn't what I was going for. I wanted a straight kind of ramped stair path, so in the end I filled it all up and we started again. So I then decided that it'd probably be easier if I did a bridge instead. So I was going to do a ramped bridge, but as you can see that wasn't really going as tall as I needed it to, and it was taking up a lot of space. So in the end I went for a basic stair bridge up and over, as most of the train stations in this country have, and then added some railings because, you know, people are silly, and tried to line it up with the opposite end of the map. I then just put a load of random paths in to try and kind of get an idea of where I was putting things. But the bridge worked. It was a lot quicker than trying to build an underground tunnel, I can tell you that much. I then added in my staff buildings, so I put them just within the electrical range of the entrance. And I've basically just thrown these buildings down. There's no decor going on those yet. It's not a urgent problem, so I left it as it was. And then I looked at getting my first animal, which was going to be the Sussex chicken. So all farm parks have chickens, and that was going to be my first one to get. They're also quite appealing, which was quite surprising. So we got a group of chickens, and we were also going to get pigs. So the plan is to get chickens, pigs, sheep, alpacas, goats, donkeys, and the Highland cow, because a lot of those can live together. So I started building out my first habitat here. As you can see, it's very straight. Definitely a pro builder, or not. I then wanted to make a little rustic fence, so obviously I didn't have any research done yet, so I decided to make my own fence, and you will see that that probably wasn't the greatest idea. However, it did look quite nice, but kind of. I don't usually build my own fences, so this again was a way for me to challenge myself a little bit and try and build something a little bit different that wasn't pre-built. So I made myself a little white kind of picket fence. I wanted a white picket fence, to be honest, and I don't think there is any in the pack unless I haven't unlocked them yet. So I made 2 pieces and then just kind of doubled them up to make them fit, and then just did that all the way around the enclosure, habitat, enclosure, whatever you want to call it. So I quite liked the way the picket fence looked, and it was quite easy to line up, which was also quite handy. But as you can see, my null barrier was not very straight. So I don't have to go back and then fix that later. This barrier for this habitat ended up being a bit of a nightmare, and you'll see why. I forgot my hands were active. Sorry. I can wave at you though. So I've obviously changed the habitat gate and made that fit as well, and used some planks just to fill in the gaps to make it look kind of all uniform. I then put my Sussex chickens into quarantine to make sure they weren't ill or injured, and I threw a load of staff down, and I think I changed some of the staff colours as well. I made them all purple and pink, all wearing purple boots. I don't know what I did. I did something to them. I don't think I actually did all of them, to be honest. So I might go back and change the colour scheme again. So I think I put in a mechanic, I would have put in a keeper and a vet, and the kind of basic staff. Attached the paths up and then went around and fixed all the null barriers whilst the chickens were coming in. I didn't realise that the chickens were such short lifespan. So we did end up with quite a few chickens once they start breeding. And unfortunately we ended up with quite a lot of dead chickens after, I think, yeah, after about 1 we ended up with a few dead chickens. So I've put some terrain in, so I've dug a little bit of a pond here for the water. I think, did I leave that one in there as well? Can't remember whether I left that second pond in. But I did put 2 little ponds in so that they had somewhere to drink from, and all these guests have come here to look at my chickens in the bear habitat. I put a feeding platform in, and then I did kind of the basic stuff, and then I did put the research centres in so I could start researching the train. I think the train was my priority at this point, because who doesn't love a train, you know? So the train research started going on. We put the water treatment in for the water, and we then checked that the chickens are all good. I don't think I had any more enrichment enrichment? I don't think I had any more enrichment for them at that moment, so we didn't put any of those in. But I did try and make them a little bridge to play with. I don't know whether they climbed up it or not. I think they can jump over it. I don't know. I put a bridge in. I was feeling creative. So we have one male and a few females in there. Matthew was our original male chicken. And then I think I went and got some pigs as well. So we had 15,000 left, so we tried to get, I think I tried to get the pigs that I could get for cash, because I didn't want to use too much of the tokens. Credits. I did look at also getting goats in there, but I don't think there was any available when I looked. So I only had 1 pig, put him into quarantine, and then moved him into the enclosure. We then started getting some baby chickens. I did change the timings as well because couldn't say anything. So we've got our pig in here, having a great time. The only issue was he could escape. So this is fence amendment 1, where I went round and I moved the entire fence up because the pig can then jump out the fence, which meant highlighting the entire fence and shifting the entire thing up. I then had to go around and just fix little bits and pieces. once the fence was fixed and the pigs couldn't get out, I wanted to make a little wooden type barn for them to sleep in. So I made them a shelter, but I made it out of the, I think it was the slatted wood pieces, and I kind of just made them a really basic one with the, I think it's a tin roof or plastic roofs. I did put a trim on it, which is not something I usually do, and made them just a kind of basic wooden little shelter. I put some tiles on the outside to make it a little decoration, to make it kind of farm style-ish. The pigs could actually get over the bridge, which was quite an interesting revelation. So we found a few more pigs to buy, and I put those in as well. We had a few baby chickens, which were very cute and very tiny, and because they were so tiny, they could also escape. And it wasn't something I thought about. As you can see, this looks like a great habitat already. You know, a bit bare, nothing on there. I put some education screens on, I remember to do that. And we had done a research for the chickens, which means we could put some more enrichment in there as well. I think we ended up with 3 pigs in the end. I think it was 1 male and 2 females. I did go back looking for things like goats. Yeah, and I think I was going to get deer at one point. Yeah, see? This is where I realised that the baby chickens can just walk out of the habitat because there's a massive gap at the bottom. So they were having a great time, but that meant that I had to go and put in mesh, which did ruin the aesthetic of the fence, but was kind of necessity. A necessity to stop the chickens from just running free. Not that it's a problem really, because the baby chickens can do what they want. But the game's got an issue with it, so I had to go around and fix it. This meant that obviously I had to put this mesh panel in to all the gaps underneath the fence. So this is fence adjustment number 2. And I just did do a test area to make sure that it was the baby chickens and that the mesh was working as it should do. I did go around and do all this manually. What did I get a fine for then? I think it was the escaped chicken. So this took a while. As you can also see, my money's going well down. So we started with 40,000 and currently on 9.5. I don't think the fence adjustments really made the situation any better, but once I put all these mesh panels in, the chickens then couldn't escape. I then just had to go herd up all these loose chicks that were outside having a great time. So you can see that once I'd done that, the chickens couldn't then escape. I started looking for, I think I was looking for more pigs. Did I end up with 3 females? I did something crazy where I filled the entire thing with pigs and then didn't realise that the pigs would have 3 babies each. Then I started looking at alpacas. So we got 1 male alpaca and sent that to quarantine until we could get some females. We had got some more enrichment activities for the chickens, so we added in a forage box and a mirror mobile and a bubble machine, which they quite liked. I haven't seen the chickens playing with the bubbles before, that was quite fun. I think I also put a disco ball in there. I don't think we had any enrichment for the pigs, but we did get the train, so that's all that matters. I say that, there's still no train yet, so that train episode's to come. Then I put the alpacas in and realised that the alpacas can jump the fence because the fence wasn't tall enough for alpacas. So, as you can probably guess, it was time for fence adjustment number 3. We also had quite a few chickens mature because they breed quickly, mature quickly, and also die quickly. So I had to kind of keep on top of the chickens that were dying. There goes one, there goes Olympia. breeding and then maturing because they all kept trying to breed with each other, and it was just a bit chaotic, to be honest. So I think at this point I must have had a few chickens die. So I went looking for a memorial wall. I think I just used the concrete in the end. I was going to use wood because it seemed more appropriate, and then I was going to do like a memorial tunnel, but I think I just went with the breeze blocks and used the letters to write the chicken in, and I think I used a decal as well. So Olympia was our first chicken to die. She made it onto the memorial wall. I then went and actually added trees and foliage and made the habitat look nice. There goes Callum. Callum also died of old age at the age of 6.1 years old. We also had a chicken called Aura. Now, Aura is legend in these parts because we were farming Aura. She was making lots of babies for us. She will forever live on in the farm as the greatest chicken ever. So if you ever want to farm Aura, or want to know where the biggest Aura farm is, then it's here, in this Planet Zoo build. And we will be remembering Aura with a goat, when I put in the goats. So, since the alpacas were escaping, I think I put them back in the trade centre. Yeah, I did. And then I built a new habitat for the alpacas over the other side of the path. So I did the same thing with the fence, but made it a little bit taller because obviously the alpacas can jump that little bit more, and just did the same kind of fence panel but bigger. This was kind of an entirely pointless exercise, which you will see in the next episode. But it looked nice, and really that's all that matters, right? Right? Maybe not. So I did the fence, moved that post out of the way, filled in the gap. As you can see, the chickens are also dying and maturing in the background. I had to then go fix the null barrier because I hadn't done that right either, and put the alpaca over into this habitat where you can see he didn't escape. But he needed a few more bits and pieces in there. So I then went to deal with the chickens, got rid of the mature ones. Then we had another death. I did that one to the wall. And I think we managed to find a few more female alpacas. We were trying to breed the best of the best, so we wanted to get the most appealing alpacas with the best kind of genetics. So we put all those in quarantine, and then I think I made a pond for the alpaca once I'd fixed the terrain. I made a little pond for them. This is when the low in cash warning popped up at 5,000. I added some enrichment that we did have. I think it was just the jelly, a feeder and a barrel feeder. And then I added a few plants. And I also moved I moved some education boards over onto the alpacas, and I remembered to put donation bins in, which was good, because that meant I could have some more money. The chickens were trying to inbreed, had to sort that out. Like I said, the chickens are just very fast. Like they grow up fast, they die fast. They're just quick. They have short lives. I say short lives, they live till 7, so it doesn't seem to be that short, but it just seems short. I don't know what was going on with the pigs. I feel like I put a lot of pigs in here. I think I did buy some for credit because they were better genetically with the credits. So all of our pigs should now be in here. So this one enclosure has pigs and chickens in it. And they also get an interspecies bonus from living together. I unlocked a wallowing pit for the pigs. put that in there as well. And then I think I decided to delete the path, because, you know, why not? And I actually made the path larger because I realised that this is the main path in and out of the zoo, and a lot of planet zoos tend to get congestion in the main kind of routes in and out. So I made the path, I think I made it as wide as I could to fit between the two habitats, so that hopefully that would reduce the congestion from the guests coming in that entrance. The plan for kind of the towards the end of building this zoo was to put another entrance on the opposite side so that people weren't always coming from one end. I had to build a shelter for the alpacas, so I made one out of, I think it's the same wood slat panels, and I wanted to make a little domey one. Like, I don't think they could access all of it, so I think I just left it open in the end, and I made a little kind of round shelter for them. I don't know why they couldn't reach the middle bit, so I did have to play around with the heights a little bit, because it's hard to kind of gauge the alpaca's height. I put a little wooden roof on top, and then did I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one of the asphalt pieces. One of the domed pieces, I can't remember. I tried to put a waterfall in there, but it kind of looked a bit weird. So I left that. And then put some alpaca bedding in, and a roof, once I found the roof piece that I was looking for. Yeah, just waiting for a kind of a basic flat roof. We completed some research on both the mechanic and the vet research, so I think we ended up with some more enrichment for the pigs from that one. The alpacas were quite happy in their legal habitat, and they hadn't escaped, which was good. I then tried to sell some paths in order to gain some money, and I made it a bit bigger, a bit wider to match the previous path. So the aim for the middle bit, which will make sense at a later date. This is a baby pig that we realised had been born. I didn't realise we had so many, because they all had 3 each, and we were soon overrun by piglets. But they were kind of cute. I don't know what they were doing in the bush, but good place to hide apparently. So yeah, so in this habitat we ended up with loads of piglets and load of chicks. It kind of got chaotic in there. Yeah, this is the point I realised we had 9 piglets. I think it was 9 or 12 piglets. It was a lot of piglets. Yeah. So going back to this kind of middle bit. So the middle bit is going to be a kind of nature park. So the plan is to put a massive pond in the middle, and you'll see me building that in a second. I'm just kind of waiting for the rain to stop, because it's hard to build things in the rain, because you can't really see what you're building. And same with the dock. You can't really see a lot. Okay, so we unlocked some alpaca research, which means we could get some more enrichment. And unfortunately, Matthew, our first male chicken, died at the age of 7.1 years old. We did have a few breeding alpacas, but we didn't quite have enough for their herd, so they were quite happy with the social group, which means that we've got, I think, another 1 or 2 female alpacas. And we had, Matthew was our original chicken. I don't know what happened to him, but he just disappeared off the memorial wall. So we weren't actually able to add him on. He kind of glitched out of the system, which was really annoying because I wanted to add him to the memorial, but he was our original chicken, so we'll just have to remember him here. Because I don't know where his memorial went, but it's not there now. So I then had to go and find a new male chicken to put in with the flock, so that they could breed. Even though I probably didn't need to breed that many chickens, they were bringing the guests in, so, you know, Here's a nice view of a jelly cake, which the more you look at it, the more questions I have. But the pigs liked it. So I think we ended up getting rid of all our mature chickens and we got a new male in. There's a little baby alpaca. Having a great time. Dipping his toes in the water. So this alpaca habitat looked quite nice. It was very functional. We had a load of pigs mature and that caused a lot of fighting. We had to then go put all those to the trade centre. Obviously having that many piglets meant that they all going to mature at the same time, which was kind of annoying, but thankfully there wasn't that many animals in the zoo, so I was able to kind of manage them quite well. I did try and trade a few of the pigs because I wanted some credits back. Since you only started with 200 and a lot of the animals I'm breeding are domesticated, you can't actually get credits for them. I think I can for the pigs, but only very, very few. So we're doing okay for money at this point. I'm down to 33. I'm up to 33,000 even. 33,000 is up. I think I took a loan out at some point. I think it was the 20,000 loan. Just to finish building the alpaca habitat. So then I went and made this gigantic pond. So you can see that I've kind of used I used some of the shape stamps to kind of build an outline, but I didn't want it to be perfect because generally they're just not. And then kind of built in these little divots all over the place so the ground was uneven. I left a little island in the middle because I think having a little island in the middle of a pot, like a massive pond, is a really nice idea. The plan for the pond is at some point to get some swans in, because this will be a walk-through habitat where people can just walk through a load of different animals. So the plan is to put swans probably around the pond, so this will be kind of their area. I did smooth it out to make it look a little less lumpy, especially with the clear water, and I kind of left it as is for now. We then started getting a few diseases, so I had to put all the alpacas into quarantine because they were incubating Q fever, and I think I got a second vet at this point and made sure that they were all trained up. So I then went looking at the species data for the animals I'm putting in this giant park. So the plan is to put, I think, donkeys, cattle and goats in here at least, plus the swans. Ideally I'd put deer in here, but we did a trial with the deer and the deer didn't work out. You might not see it in one of the builds because I did it very quickly and had to remove the deer also very quickly. So I'm just going to kind of lay out how I want this habitat to look. Now it is massive. I'm using a null barrier just to kind of put the basics in. And I thought this would be a good idea because, you know, I've got 40,000. Shouldn't cost that much to make a giant wildlife park. This is 108,588 meters squared, with 7,247 meters of water. So it's a little big. I don't know how I was planning to maintain it. The main issue was the water. So I did think about putting a train in, and I was like, cool, I've got money, I could put a train in. I decided against doing that because even with the loans that I'd taken out, which I think I took out another one at that point, so the loans were kind of stacking, it wasn't a worthy investment. So I did look at a few other possibilities. So I was looking at putting some butterflies in, because there's quite a few temperate species butterflies, and we do find butterflies in farm parks in the UK. There tend to be little walk-through habitats where people can look at the butterflies and kind of take pictures with them and things like that. So we do have a few butterfly walkthroughs in the UK in farm parks. It kind of just adds a bit more to the interactive animals that you can see. So I used the fence from the alpacas. Obviously I had a chicken inbreeding there, so I just get rid of the mature ones. And also sort the pigs out, because they'd all matured. And I used the fence from the alpacas to build the fence for this giant, massive habitat, because it was the right height for, I think it was the cattle that needed the highest fence. So we used that one. So once I'd built kind of a decent section of the fence, I kind of just duplicated that all the way around. And as you can see it's being duplicated, you will realise how big this habitat actually is, and how crazy I was for thinking I could do this early on, because it's massive. I think at this point I was being a little bit ambitious, because there's no way I could maintain this habitat at this size. I even tried to copy I did duplicate an entire wall of the fence and put that in the other side, even though I couldn't actually see where it was lining up because it was too big. But I'm getting better at duplicating pre-made fences, so that's something. I did the same for the other side, tried to get it as level as I could. If it was slightly off, I wasn't overly bothered, because you can always fill it in the gaps with just normal wooden posts if I needed to. Then we did the same for this side, and this is when I realised that the fence was costing me too much money, and I was unable to finish the fence, which meant I had to leave a gap. I then added a little guest facilities area with kind of just the basics really, because the guests, I couldn't afford anything else, to be honest. But the guests because the farm's not that big, the guests weren't overly that hungry or thirsty. So I added a couple of vending machines and bins and benches. People ended up just using this side to view the animals, which was kind of weird. As you can see, the money was going. We're currently down to 100-ish. And then we dropped into the minuses. And this is where the fun began, because I couldn't buy anything. So we sorted out the chickens to make sure they weren't inbreeding. I think we had another male die, so I had to sort that out. I think I took out the £20,000 loan before and paid that off. But as you can see, we're now down to minus 2,500. And I can't really afford to do anything else about it. I did increase the ticket price to try and get some more money that way. The fact that that fence wasn't completed was very annoying. So I took out another £20,000 loan and tried to finish the fence, which I think I did do in the end. But each piece of fence was costing like 5,000 because the habitat was just so big that it was just costing so much. So this is what it's eventually going to look like. But there'll be so you can see that the habitat gate's slightly off to the side because we're putting a walk-through gate in on the left. So the guests will be able to walk through and then enter from the normal entrance, but also exit from each 4 direction. So they'll be able to enter from the north, the east, the south and the west. So they can go kind of anywhere within the park, but also leave the park at different edges. Because the plan is to put different things in each of the corners and also add train stations, so the guests can kind of get around a lot easier. With this big kind of nature park with animals in it in the middle. So I did look at getting some Highland cattle and things like that. I don't think I brought any in the end because the money depleted quickly. So that 20,000 I had disappeared. And as you can see, we still have a lot to pay and we are in the minuses. So this was the kind of the point where I kind of had to stop building. I did have a look at getting a sheep, and I could use credits for the sheep, but I think I ended up getting one sheep, but I don't think I used it for ages because I wanted to breed the sheep. And obviously there's no point putting the sheep in a habitat if you're not breeding from them immediately because they'll age up and die. So I don't know what I was doing here. I think I was looking for staff. So yeah, I think I got one sheep and just left them in the trade centre, to be honest. I put them in the habitat briefly. But since I couldn't find a female, I think I ended up putting him back in the trade centre. I did adjust the ticket prices. Apparently the chickens are very appealing. People came to see the chickens. And yeah. I looked at getting some other species that could probably start getting us credits back, because we were down to 153, but this is what the farm looks like. At this point, we are in minus £9,300 worth of debt. And yeah, we have an alpaca and a sheep, not alpaca, alpaca and sheep habitat, and then a pig and a chicken habitat. And that's all we got done for this episode. Thanks for watching. And if you'd like to see more of this farm develop, then stay tuned. Or catch me on Twitch.